Can you believe it? It's already July. It's amazing to me. July 2024. And happy Independence Day to all my American friends and family. This is our monthly Q&A, our live questions and answer time. The purpose of this on the first Thursday of every month, which happens to be 4th of July. By the way, I've had a couple really, having lived in England for 14 years, I've had a couple really funny memes sent to me from some American friends. One was a picture of George Washington with Beatles sunglasses, and it said, "I was Brexit before Brexit was cool." And so, and another one was I wish you a happy work day to all those in our UK British friends. And so I get a lot of these back and forth, but a lot of our audience is not American. A lot of our friends and family around the world, team members around the world, come in live and watch this from all over, literally all over, from Europe, from Africa, and from the Middle East. But then I do want to say a special shout out to all of our friends and family in the U.S. Happy Independence Day. And we thought about maybe not holding this today because today was off, but I want you to, grab a Independence Day hot dog and a Coke or something like that, and in whatever time, share it around with your family. And that's one of the ways you can help us spread the word about what God's doing through Club 1040 and doing through you. And I'm hoping as well, this last second to last sort of fun thing I get to show and talk about is the fact that June also had something very special for Julie and I, and that was baby Eva Adeline Beemer was born. Our first grandbaby was born. Mom, dad, baby are all healthy, and granddad here, and Julie were Grammy or whatever. The whole granddad Grammy, whatever, kind of the name thing is always a funny thing to me. But anyway, baby's beautiful. Parents are healthy and strong, and they're doing great. And I'm hoping that maybe we can figure out a way to have a proper introduction, and Julie can do that maybe next month too in our cute live Q&A if we can make all the schedules work. So before I bring Reverend Tony Cooke in as our guest today, I wanted to share one incredible story of the impact that you've made. On October 7th, the Bible College started in Beirut, Lebanon. Started with 91 students, and we've had a little bit of attrition because of challenges living there and war and all those sort of things. But we have over 80 students, and out of those 80 students, they're now nearing the completion. By November, they'll complete their first level. And but these students have come from about 12 different churches, and they've been building relationships as they come together in the student body, and they've been collaborating and ministering together more and more. And one of the couples that come with a number of their core leaders, they drive about 2 hours to be at each training school session. They come from the border, about 6 miles from the border of Syria, in a place called Zahli. They wanted to do an outreach. First of all, their church has grown from about 50, 70 people to over 250 people in just this year alone, since they attended Bible college and began to apply some of the things they've learned. But they hosted a large outreach outside, and in that outreach, more than 500 people gathered. I believe it was 350 adults, 230 children gathered together in this outreach, and it was incredibly impactful. But what I love about it is your support of the Bible College and the scholarships and all those things that you've provided for that. 21 of the Bible College students came together, joining with the local church. There are 20 team members from that local church, and it was amazing because they couldn't have pulled off that number of people attending with just their local church. But because of the students coming together, they were able to do it. In fact, that's a picture right there of one of the Bible College team members, Christelle, doing children's ministry. And so all of these people will be followed up. The theme was God is a loving Father. And in the midst of war and challenges, what a great message. The pastor took him through Luke chapter 15. And so this is a part of the impact of what you do when you establish Bible colleges through Club 1040, wherever we go, is it really brings unity to the body of Christ. And I love that not only unity, but it's also producing fruit in the fact that the church has already grown significantly, but then fruit and also in the fact that it's producing outreach fruit and a number of people giving their lives to Christ through an outreach like that because you helped to start this Bible college. So thank you so much for that. And on behalf of all those whose lives are dramatically changed, thank you for that. Just in Lebanon alone, there's been before this event, there was 68 people that we have documented became born again Christ followers, and 11 were baptized in water just in the first half of this year. And you consider the size of Lebanon and the ministry and outreach and the war and everything that's going on, that's a pretty amazing thing. In fact, where this outreach was held was in an area that the U.S. government says don't go to that area. And, every day there's jets flying over, drones flying over, and yet they're doing this outreach in the midst of that because you made it possible. So thank you so much. It was also supernaturally provided for. They're learning how to trust God for things. They didn't have the money to do it. And for example, the space that you see there, the land was given free use to them by the owner of the land. And so what a cool thing that is. All right. So as we finish up today, we have a great guest with us, and that is Reverend Tony Cooke. Let's bring him into the call. And again, don't forget, you can always ask questions. We have a few questions that have already been given to us ahead of time. But Tony, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Pastor Matt. Good to see you.
And you. For those that haven't met Tony before, you've been in ministry for how many years now?
44 years of preaching and 9 months of cleaning toilets.
Yeah. So 45 plus years in ministry, because cleaning toilets counts.
It does.
So, over these years, I first heard of and met through Tony through the Bible college that Julie and I attended and actually met at and eventually were married at on campus. And known him since then, but in recent years, in the last several years, 10, 15 years or more, he's been he's on our ministry peer board with two others, John Grunwald and Jerry Weinzierl. He's a person that I look to for advice and counsel on a regular basis. And we've done a lot of ministry together. I think you've been in England. Do you remember how long ago it was that you came to England? Was it 2005?
It's been a long time. I was with you 4 or 5 times in England, maybe 5 up in Manchester. And it's either been 3 or 4 times in Lebanon and Egypt. And then, of course, this recent trip to Nigeria. So we've been following you around a lot.
Yeah. And you've always added such an amazing supply. One of the questions that came up, we post and ask people to ask questions in advance of these calls because it's our live Q&A time every month, gives people an opportunity to ask questions. And a number of them came up about your books. So how many books have you written yet? And what are some of the titles and topics?
We just had our 16th book released and just happened to have, there's a picture of all of them. Our newest book is called Magnificent Jesus. It's not in that stack. And the stack that's being shown on the screen, the center stack are the books in English, and the other books, this stacks on the left and the right, are the different translations that you see mentioned there. I understand we also have Nepali and Hindi about to join the list. Wow. With Timothy, I believe in both of those languages. I just found out yesterday we have 2 books I didn't even know were in other languages. In Search of Paul is in Spanish, and Miracles in the Supernatural Through Church History is in French. I didn't even know about those. I don't always find out about the translations until later. So anyway, we're just so thankful. And Matt, you and your team put 4 of our books into Arabic, and we're so thankful for that. when I was in Egypt, I believe in February, somebody showed me a copy of In Search of Timothy, and the book was basically mangled. It was all curled up and dog-eared and that type of thing. And normally you don't want to see, you want to see a book really nice and crisp and clean and that type of thing. But what blessed me so much is one of the Egyptian leaders said that we share this and teach out of it. And so that just blessed my heart a lot to know that the books aren't just looking pretty on somebody's bookshelves, but are actually being used. So thank you guys.
Yeah, it's an honor, and books are powerful. And one of the things that you do is you resource leaders because the in Search Timothy as an example, it has the different qualifications and of good servant leaders, people that are helpful to their leaders, and we use that almost like a servant leader manual. If people ask me like what is our handbook for and our expectations towards team members as to the heart and the mindset of a servant leader, I'm like, well, it's all in Search of Timothy. We use the workbooks and all of that. We bring all new leaders through that.
Mhm.
We've done that in every place we go. It's incredibly helpful to have those resources. If you haven't accessed those resources and you're hearing about them for the first time, what's the easiest way for someone to access those?
Well, all of our books in English are available online through our website. I think they're all ebooks as well, and several of them are audiobooks through Audible. But just to get a copy of a regular book in hand, they can go through our website, which is it's my name, Tony Cooke, COOKE.org. And all of our books are available in our bookstore. And a lot of times people go through Amazon and that type of thing. And so two of our books, Timothy and Life After Death, are Faith Library books through Rhema. The rest have been done through Harrison House. But TonyCook.org is probably the easiest way for people to find everything in one location.
Yeah, and books are powerful, and we'll talk a little bit about the impact of books in Nigeria in just a minute too.
Mhm.
But I just wanted to first kind of, for those that aren't familiar, I said at the beginning of the call, Julie and I in 2009 with Jonathan, who was 11, and Elizabeth, who was 9, we moved to Abuja, Nigeria. And after some time of preparation, team development, etc., eventually launched the Bible College there in Abuja with 80 students, and that was in October 2010. When we turned things over to Tokes and the team, so it was 100% self-funding, self-governing, and self-propagating. That was 2008. Let's see, 2018. Yeah, 2018. So 8 years later, the school had 4 campuses and 1,200 students. And since that time in 2018 till now, the school has continued to build on the foundations, and one of which was, for example, In Search of Timothy was one of those foundations of team and leadership development. And we're able to expand exponentially to where now they have over 7,000 students in 9 campuses, 100% indigenous, national led. Tell us a little bit about, as we finish up, about your thoughts on that from the Bible College and the books and the impact there.
Yeah, there has to be, God always works in systems. He created a solar system. Our bodies are a system. And so hearing is one part of the equation, but people can hear random things and people can read random books and hear random messages. And God can work through that powerfully to touch and change lives. But when a Bible school is created, when a robust church is created, and I understand the church can be any gathering of believers. They're called out from the world and that type of thing. But different churches are at different levels in terms of how much they're uh, creating discipleship venues, how much they're creating outreach. What are they doing for planting other churches? Churches can be at varying levels of robustness. And when you go in, Pastor Matt, and put the Bible schools in that are creating, kind of tying all the loose ends together, and not only creating the discipleship in the word, but then creating the vision for evangelism and church planting and multiplication and things like that. So many things just go so much further, and the potential of them is so much greater. I'll close with this. You talked about moving to Nigeria in 2009. Am I remembering correctly? In 2008, I'm not saying this is why you moved to Nigeria in any way, shape, or form, but you and Julie went with Lisa and I and a whole bunch of other people, and you went with us around the Mediterranean, and we visited the places where Paul had started churches. And, Paul was a church planter, and he had this mentality of multiplication. He told Timothy, he said, Timothy, commit this to faithful men. Well, that's delegation, but who will be able to teach others also. That's multiplication. So it's one thing to start a church, but you want to start a church that starts other churches. And you don't just want to start a Bible school, you want to start a Bible school that starts other Bible schools. And so I'll be honest with you, when you went with us on that tour, and I have no idea if that had any influence or if you were thinking or praying about that then, but when you announced that you were leaving England to go to Nigeria, I thought, what are Matt and Julie doing? They just have gotten this thing in England really humming. And, I was so impressed with the work in Manchester, and now you're leaving it. And that's not what people do. When people get a good, solid work, they stay there. And it took me a couple of years to realize, wait a minute, Matt's not just doing residential, he's doing apostolic. And so for those of you that wonder, what's wrong with the Beemers? Why can't they stay in one place very long? It's actually kind of a biblical type of thing. And so just thank you for, because listen, it's a lot more comfortable on the flesh just to stay where you are and not uproot every few years and do something totally different. But you've demonstrated through fruit and productivity and the things that have been established through your and Julie's heart. So I just want to say again to the partners of Club 1040, if you see Matt and Julie just constantly bouncing around, it's not because they're, they don't get along with people, or they don't. It's because they're planting and moving on, planting and moving on, planting and moving on. And the amazing thing is that everything they plant thrives because they're planting right. So thank you, Club 1040 partners, for being a part of that. And Lisa and I are Club 1040 partners. So we believe in you guys.
I appreciate those very, very kind words. And that trip was very, very marked on our lives. There was a day where everybody went in for a day tour of a particular area. I can't remember exactly where it was. Maybe it was Thessaloniki or somewhere. And we just stayed in the port, and Julie and I talked. And as we talked, we began to talk some of the things out that we both had been praying out previous to that. And it was a really important, it's a very memorable time for us. It's a very important time for us to have had that time where we sat away, we went around with everybody, and the steps. And it was exactly those things that the things we were seeing and reading and experiencing, the steps of Paul was speaking to us about a part of the ministry calling we're called to. And we appreciate the opportunity to have had that opportunity. We've done a few of those other trips. In fact, I don't know, are you planning anything coming up?
We have a trip coming up in October that will include Thessalonica, Philippi, Berea, Neapolis, where Paul sailed into the port to visit Philippi, Meteora, Delphi, Corinth, Cenchrea, Athens, and then with an optional opportunity to visit Rome as well, and see where Paul was in prison, where he was executed, where he's buried, and the Colosseum and the Vatican and all that type of thing too. So we do those every couple of years. We love those.
Yeah, they're great experiences. And the people that go are wonderful people. Pastors and leaders, church leaders and ministers go, and it's great building relationships. Well, thank you so much for taking this time this morning on the Independence Day, July 4th in the USA. And I so value, not only are you partners on a monthly basis, and we do value and appreciate that, but also you're much more than that. You're partners in ministry and co-laborers, and we feel like that we're able to use the resources that God has given for you to steward and use those. And also you help wherever you come and wherever you've been. You've always lifted everything up. You've helped to build, because of your ability to come into an area and identify across denominationally so well. You really help us, which is important to us, that really help us build bridges with leaders as we've entered into,
Good.
like, for example, our first thing we ever did with pastors and leaders, I think you were the one that you came as a guest, and that was intentional because we knew that you could really do well at linking up with people from across different boundaries and barriers. And so you're such a value to the body of Christ, and a value to Julie and I personally, and a value to Club 1040. So thank you to you and Lisa and to the ministry. And a thank you for this morning. We love and appreciate you.
Thank you. Congratulations on your new grandbaby.
Thank you so much. And for those of you that have watched and stayed all the way through, we appreciate it. Share this, especially the value of the impact of what Reverend Cooke shared there at the end. It was really helpful. There's little nuggets of truth and lessons there. Don't forget some important prayer points as we look forward to this month ahead. We're going to have a number of days with the grandbaby in the U.S. together. So pray for us and our family. That'll be wonderful. And then also we're focusing on finalizing the Club 1040 HQ office. We call it the clubhouse. And we've done converted a barn into a new office building. Hopefully by the end of August, that will be complete. Our son, Jonathan Beemer, has been managing that project for us. He's been doing a great job. It's a lot of decisions as we finish that off that are important for us to finalize. And then praying for all those people that are coming to faith in places like Lebanon and Egypt and other places. And speaking of Egypt, we'll be doing in August. We'll be back overseas, of course, and we'll be in Lebanon and Egypt, working with the teams as we continue to build as your representatives across the Middle East and North Africa. Thank you so much. God bless you. Until next month's Club 1040 Live Q&A, you can always ask us questions in between, but it's a great opportunity for you to ask the questions that you have, and we'll do our best to answer them. God bless you, and thank you.